Hi everybody, welcome back to Sharon from Vivid Days. Today's video is all about revisiting an acrylic resin alternative. In the UK we called it Jesmonite, and over here you might call it water-based resin, I believe it is. Anyway, I had a quick trip to Bunnings and I purchased a starter kit because being in Australia, I'm not too sure what the brands are over here. So I thought, why not? So I used the starter kit to understand more the content around the acrylic resin, but I then put a twist on it and we create some Lush Dominoes, and I really think that they are stunning. Instant gratification, and we just notched the level up with some lushness by adding some nice felt underneath and a little bit of sparkle and some gold. So thumbs up, subscribe, share, comments are always welcome. I hope you enjoy this video. I will talk as I go through it. Other than that, we'll play a little bit of music and you'll see the end result. So let's get on with this. But before I do, I hope wherever you are in the world, you are safe and well, you found time to create, and you get some enjoyment out of hanging out and chatting with me while we create. Anyway, on with it, Sharon. I'm going to keep looking down and referencing here, but I'm showing you there the starter kit that I got from Bunnings, which is a hardware store. I just wanted to do this to explore, but we're going to show you all the content that's in there. And I really had fun doing this. It felt a little bit more fluid than it did with Jesmonite. It does say in here, Jesmonite alternate powder and a water-based liquid fluid. I'm going to show you everything that you get in the kit. But we don't use the entire kit. I mainly use the ingredients, reference how this powder works, store my little pigments in my little book, and just have some fun. And I decided to do dominoes. Now, I'm never going to be one of these people that's going to like to sand and create different things with Jesmonite at this stage. I like this simple life, which is mix it, add a little bit of colour, pour it, and instant gratification. Now this one did take a little bit to cure. What I showed you there was my sheet that Neil did that really carried over, which is a 2.5 to 1 ratio. That liquid pigment there was one that belonged to Jesmonite, and I brought it over. It crystallized a little bit, but wiped it off and everything else was still good to go. And I am now measuring out my powder. Now to start with, I went quite sparingly. I'm thinking to myself, just 100 mils at this stage, because I'm thinking that I'm not going to fill the mold to the top, maybe come in at just a pure black at the end. And then I just let myself go on a journey, and I ended up mixing up liquid 3 times. The first one was 100 mil, the next one was 250 mil, and then I did another 100 mil. You do the math on that. The reason being, I didn't have enough to start with to add the mixture to all of the dominoes. And then when I mixed the larger quantity, I thought I'd nailed it, and I hadn't. So I went back and mixed it. Now, sorry, my camera's going in and out. It's autofocus, but I wanted to show you the full process. The mixing itself with this one, within 5 minutes, it's going to start to cure, but this one can take between 30 minutes to 3.5 hours to cure. And because it's quite liquidy, I didn't want to add too many drops. I probably over-indexed on the dots on the first half, because you'll see it's a lot darker. When I mixed the other set, it was more whiter, but it didn't bother me because they all feel like they're part of a family, even though they're equally different. I hope that makes sense. But I've speeded up the pouring process to ×3 just to save you a little bit of a time. But to start with, I went in there and I just allowed it to pour out itself. I made sure that I helped it get to the corners. And it's about now that I realised this is getting very dark in here, Sharon. Hence why when I came back on the next one, I didn't mix as much. And I rotated my cup just to try and stop all of the black taking over everything. But it all worked out in the end. I hope that you've seen some of my other Jesmonite creations. If not, go and check my back catalogue. I will add some into the end of this video and throughout the video. So look at the top right information corner. And I'd love to know if you've created dominoes with either acrylic resin, water-based resin, or Jesmonite. If so, what colour schemes did you use? And What did you think to it? Now, I have made it with resin before, and I do like making dominoes with resin, just altering my camera angle there. But what I found about Jesmonite, it just makes it feel a little bit more, I don't know, lush. They definitely make a clinking noise. I'm like, ooh, are they going to break? Hence why I came in with the velvet at the end. Now, with this process, I still wore my gloves. I wore a mask because the powder of the resin, I didn't want that to be breathe that in. However, this one's a lot kinder than resin because there's no strong vapors in there, but I would still encourage you to work in a clean area that is dust free and a window open for ventilation. Now you can see that there is a definite difference in colours here. There's a little bit that's mainly black and white, some that is mainly black, but at the bottom it still worked. And this is where I'm like, oh Sharon, you really didn't make enough mixture. But because I wanted to, now I knew I'd got the content across all the bottom, I wanted to add more black to this so that from the back, if you were playing dominoes, you wouldn't be able to notice from the markings which one was which. But it didn't end up the way I wanted. You could still tell the difference. And it was a little bit uneven. So my learns from this next time would be to get the mixture totally done for the base, then come in with the black, so making sure that it's all the same colour, because some was different shades of grey, some had tiny little marks in there. But I just went on the journey. And then I thought to myself, you know what, once it's cured, because I wasn't too sure on this time, I was able to demold them after 30 minutes, and then I left them on my cooling tray to make sure all the water evaporated. But then I thought, I want to bling it up. So I'm in awe of these patterns, how they're all different, but yet they still belong to each other. And then every time I pulled one out, I'm like, ooh, that's my new favourite. Ooh, that's my new favourite. And along the way, there's one that I really bond with that I show you at the end, and I pack it in its box at the very last one where it's mainly black with a little flower, and I just love it. Anyway, this is where you can see you've overcommitted with your colouring. When you're leaving a lot of residue in your moulds, you can start to realise that when you touch it, it is going to transfer on your hand. So that's another tip when you know you've probably added too much pigment. But none of the trays were wasted in the art of doing this Jesmonite domino set. I do show you that I come in and give it a good clean. I went very gently, so I didn't leave any marks in there. Had some nice washing up liquid and then cloths just to wipe out any residual. And you get to see that. That's my favourite one. But unfortunately, because I've speeded it up quite a lot, you don't get to see them all in their entirety as I'm bringing them out. However, I do go and do a flyover very soon, and you'll start to see those colours. So yeah, when I was doing this, I'm like, right, I'm going to do them in different colours. Maybe I'm going to stick to this theme of monotone. And I wasn't too sure, would I add white dots, black dots, or maybe go for gold? And I'll let you see later what I go to. But let me know what you think to this domino set. Which one of these patterns do you bond with? It's really weird. Even though you love them all, you're like, I really like that one. And I think that's the beauty of doing this. You're never going to be able to replicate 100%. You might think you can, but you're not. And it just adds some interest to when you're going to play dominoes. Anyway, cooling trays are amazing for making sure that they dry. As I mentioned before, all the fluid would disappear. But we're going to do a flyover now. Which one do you love? Anyone stick out to you more than the other? Now, this Jesmonite does have a nice high shine to it, which is another thing that I really value. Just having a look and enjoying them myself. Sorry, I went a bit quiet then. All right, so now you're going to see me working on the bottom and trying to get it so on. They look aesthetically pleasing. Two, you cut, oh, there it is, it's very clean. And so I decided to go in with some black acrylic paint and then have some black holographic glitter on there. Now, if you add a bit of paint, now I've done it to most of them, but I've left one just to show you what I do. I add a little bit of black to it, and then when it's wet, I add the glitter, and most of the time it adheres to it. But it didn't give me the look I wanted. However, it probably was a good process to do. You don't have to do it, optional extra, because when I then come and add some of the nice velour, sticky, I don't know, jewellery, felt that's sticky, and you stick it to the bottom, it that helped because you can't tell what the pattern is underneath, and it added to the lushness. But then the glitter was just around the edge, so when you turn them over and the light's on there, you just get to see that sparkle, and I think it just adds a tiny little bit of magic to it. Now I went over the back with this Protect It. Didn't need to do this step, but I thought to myself, maybe it's going to adhere, maybe it's going to help it become at one with the Jesmonite. So you can see I'm scooping off my glitter there, and it did make it look shiny, the black acrylic, but it didn't really do what I thought. So this is the adhesive felt fabric sheet that I cut. So I put my dominoes on, then cut around them all, but I've just left one so you can see it. And I've also added gold paint, and I used it with my dotting tools. And oh, I've saved the best one for you. That's my favorite domino right there. And I just make sure that it adheres, cut around it. Any excess left I put back on there so I can use for different projects. And I come in with my dotting pen with the gold acrylic paint, and Bob's your uncle. We have what I think is a plush domino set, and I think they're classy. Let me know what you think. Have you used this material yourself? Do you have any recommendations or requests for colour schemes? Let me know. I will be starting to bring my Etsy store back, and I will be starting to sell some of my work again now that I'm building up a little back catalogue. Basically, I've been told I've got to get things out my art room before I can bring more supplies in. Anyway, that's the bottom. And this is the acrylic paint that I use. It's a beautiful gold. It really does sparkle. It dries wonderfully, but I have invested in buying myself a little bottle with like a little nozzle to see if that's going to make this process easier. Now the dotting pens are all different sizes, so it worked really well for me, but it can be fiddly, and the last thing you want to do is have a shake and then make a mess on your dominoes, which I've done in the past. But just slowly, as I'm watching a movie, I did this process, and I think it was very rewarding. Now, the last thing I'm going to show you is I have, don't ask me what code it is or anything. It came from Amazon many, many years ago. Go back and look at one of my original dominoes where there's multiple on the thumbnail, and I've got a description there. But they basically are a black box that came from Amazon. You can get them in different sizes. So just put boxes, I don't know, the size you're looking for, and it'll come up with different sizes. So you'll get to see how I did it. You've got a lot of fingers and thumbs, but it is actually quite easy to do. I just had to remember the process, and then I stuck a little sticker on there, and I'm like, done. I can add no more value, and I think this video is worth sharing. So I'm going to leave you with a little bit of music. I hope you enjoy the end result. Thank you for hanging out with me, even if it's 1 minute or the whole process. I really appreciate you, and it's what helps give back to me and helps me keep giving content to you. So as I've mentioned before, any thumbs up, likes, subscribe, shares really do help my channel, and if you do put a comment in there, I will do my best to respond there. If there's any questions you want, pop them in there. Any requests you want, pop them in there. And if you're enjoying my curly hair, let me know in the comments. Other than that, look after yourself, keep creating, and I'll see you next week. Bye bye. Ooh.